Hello and good morning and happy Thursday. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being present. We are new streaming network, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. Welcome to Your Health Vibes with Elana. I'm your host, Elana, a wellness and empowerment coach. And my journey is to raise your heart, body, and soul vibes to the next level so you can transform your life today. And today, our topic is spiritual shift disturber with the one, the only, my sister, Cinthia. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today because there's no such thing as a boring conversation with you, Elana. That's all I got to say about that.
You and I, from the moment I met you, I just knew it was super special. And I just love and adore you. And I had to have you on here because I know all about you, but everybody needs a Cinthia in their pocket. So could you tell us a little bit about you, please?
Sure. I'm going to go a little bit out of the boundaries and say I'm a spiritual shit disturber.
Yes,
And
she
what
is.
I do, what I do is I shake up your personal story so that you can see the bullshit in that you've been telling yourself and help you cleave that off so that you can live a much more integrated life with your intuition and have your intuition and your spiritual body be encompassed within you. So you are walking 100% who you are 100% of the time. So it's a beautiful thing. It's a lot more challenging than people expect because everyone's intuition is different and everyone's personality is different. So some people need a little bit of a shakeup, and some people actually, it's not about being mean, but it's about really disorienting them, or getting them in the space where the smart people, their brains are no longer working, so that they can actually come from that wisdom space instead of that smart space.
100%. I love that. What I love about you is you're real, you're raw, you're authentic, and there's no meanness there. I think so many times we're conditioned in society and, someone tells you something, they think it's mean because they don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to
Right.
face their fear and the reality of what it truly is. You're not being mean, you're being honest. And people, we always candy coat or we're showing up differently. What I love about you is you tell it how it is. It is raw, it is real, but that's how it should be. We should not have to hide who we are, and you never do.
Right, right. One thing I love to talk about with my clients is it's all about communication and connection. And I know you know this really well because you're so good at it. What I say is, it's very important for you to tell me whether or not you understand. If you don't understand, that's okay. You're not hurting my feelings. If you disagree, I don't understand. If you disagree, I don't take it personally. What I will do is I'll change the words, but not the message. So a lot of times in communication, right? In communication, what happens is there's a miscommunication in language or the way that people receive the information. And
Mhm.
that's where a lot of disconnect happens. The message is correct, but the way that it's delivered so that the person can just gooey it up, and really ingest it is different. So what I do is I make sure that before a client comes in, I ask my channel, how does this person want to receive information? It's very important because what people can be going through is very challenging. So let's make it as easy and as simple as possible, right? We don't have to make it hard.
Yeah. No, I love that because I think so many times we interpret the message differently or what we interpret it, and then we take it personally, or we're not showing up to say, you know what, actually, I don't get what you're saying, or can explain more? And then we assume, and then we write this story, and then we get that rabbit hole.
Right.
How do you help someone to really find their true self of showing up and saying, you know what, I am uncomfortable, or what's going on with that?
The first thing I like to do is I like to have people sit down and I say, what's up? I mean, I love having that piece of like, what's up? What's going on? And if you're in any kind of service industry or if you have any kind of service position, I will tell you, you are empathic. You have intuition and you use it. You know what your bullshit meter is saying.
Mhm.
And so we're already working with this. My job is to just kind of smooth it out, polish it up, get to know it better so that we could know when to interject, when to witness, how people are going to walk through this challenge that they're in. So I'm doing that as they're telling their story. And from there, I can do an RX of, okay, this person really needs to be listened to. She's very afraid of her body, right? Even though a lot of her pain is emotional. So I get to help with the emotional part of the pain. And then I'll say, hey, look, let's do this. It sounds like you have a lot of stuff going on in your body. Let's talk about your emotional pain and let's alleviate that so that when you go to the doctor, we can hone in on what's physical and you can leave out all the things that are emotional. Or someone wants to level up. And then what we do is we talk about where do you want your compassion to show up? And everyone will say everywhere. And then I'll say, well, how you doing with your mom? And then, and then their face is all empty, right?
Right. Then they get like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm like, okay, so that's a tough place to show up with compassion. Let's go someplace else where it's easier and just trust that as you work your compassion in this area, the compassion with the person you're challenged with that's so near and dear to your heart is also untangling. So that's why I call myself a shit disturber, because we go at things at an angle. We don't always have to go at things head on, and sometimes it's okay to backtrack a little bit because then it opens up your view instead of getting tunnel vision.
Yeah, 100%. I love that you say that. And I love that you get deep. And also what I love is sometimes people, when they show up, they say one thing, but I love how you can direct and it's not just one thing, okay, if that's a little much, then we can focus and do this. I love stories. Could you tell us your story? Is this something that you've always had as a gift? Like growing up as a little girl, what kind of environment were you in? Is this something that came later on in life? I love your story. I know it. Could you tell it?
Yeah, of course. Well, I'll go, tell me to, time out or cut if I go too long.
I want the world to get to know you. So please talk away. That's why I have you on here because I'm so excited.
So my family is from Indonesia. I am Dutch Indonesian. And a lot of people think that means one parent is Dutch and one parent is Indonesian. That's on my case. It's not that way. Both of my parents were Dutch Indonesian, born in Indonesia, and it was a Dutch colony. So then they immigrated to the Netherlands and then immigrated over here, not together. They met here in Berkeley, California. So as an immigrant family, we would come and on Sunday nights, Sunday night dinner, every once in a while, they would talk about Indonesia. And, it's such a melting pot of belief systems. So even though my family was brought up Catholic, there were healers, there were, all these things. And every once in a while, there'd be a ghost story. And those are the things I was enraptured. I couldn't wait until these would happen. And so they would tell the ghost stories. They would talk about, there was one where my grandparents went in to talk to a healer about someone. And this raven said in Indonesian, not a believer. And they were talking about my grandfather. And so the healer already knew what was going on. So we had faith healers. We had all those things. When I was little, I always wanted to be a witch. I just wanted to be a witch. And my family poo-pooed it because coming from the islands, you had good magic and you had black magic. And at 7 years old, they're like, that girl's going to slip into some black magic. So, it got pushed away. And little kids, all kids are freaking intuitive. And the veil is very thin from past lives, if that's your belief system, right? So, and so slowly but surely it would go away. But what I would do is I became a storyteller and I would write stories as gifts to my family members. What I found out is that they were reading. So one, I wrote to an aunt and I said, oh, there's a story about this glass porcupine, and this porcupine, the quills were so brittle. And then when every time they broke, she found that she was not losing anything. She didn't lose anything, but she was gaining something. So it was things like that. It was about, it was just a bunch of different stories that I would do. And then I found out that there were readings later on. So one day I grew up with a bunch of guys. I grew up in construction. I didn't grow up in construction. My work was in construction.
Yeah.
And I needed more women in my life. And so my husband at the time said, go see Connie. She was a reader and a spiritual person. And I'm like, no. And he says, when you see her, oh no, he didn't say that. He says, you know what? He says, you need to get away from the kids. You need to get away from me. So he walked me out the door, locked the door, and he says, I'll unlock it in 2 hours. And then he triple locked it. So I couldn't come in with the key. And I sat and I cried. And then I went to the class, and then I was hooked ever since. So I started learning symbology, psychometry, medium work, energy work. She was a jack of all trades, from the good old days when in California, in the Bay Area, it was illegal to do that.
Oh,
So
wow.
yes. So she would have a teacher come, it was supposed to be a weekly meeting, but every once in a while he wouldn't make it because he got arrested for doing tarot cards.
What?
Yeah, not that long ago, my friend. Not that
Wow.
long ago.
That
I was in
breaks
the
my
50s.
heart.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So my teacher, I'm what's that, student and mentor. And
yeah.
I called her my Swami mommy. And she was my Swami mom. I swear someone asked me about that. They said, so what are you based in? Because some people are based in feng shui, some people are
Yeah.
based in Reiki, and they talk about different things. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
I'm in Reiki.
yeah, you're in Reiki. So the thing is that my base is, I like to say I have a universal base because I
Yeah.
learned from a teacher. And, she
That's
was
so
just an
beautiful.
amazing human being. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I'm from everywhere.
Oh, I just love your story. So with these gifts, so just to tell more of it. So you learned and you're teaching, and how did you grow yourself and put yourself out there more, and so people can see these beautiful gifts? Did you just start doing more with your family, or how can people? I did a beautiful kind of ceremony thing with you. If you want to talk about that, I think that was magical in itself. I was telling Cinthia earlier today, I said, if I could talk to you every day and have you do that, it would be the most magical thing ever.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. So what we're talking about is I do this monthly event. It's called the Inner Mystic Experience. And again, I'm jack of all trades.
She is.
So the Inner Mystic Experience is an online event where people come and they get an intuitive reading in a group setting. And the reason we do that is because intuitive readings help your emotional body.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I do is I channel in an energy from the fifth dimension, and their name is Endura. And so I channel, and that is purely information. There's absolutely no personality, no emotion in there, right?
Right. Like, it's crazy how, because I know you so well, but then when she gets into that, it's incredible. Like, I can't even, you guys just have to do it.
Right. Yeah. So the reason that it's created this way is so that your emotional body can be fed while your spiritual body gets nourished as well, so that you're not asking questions and feeling a little bit let down, because we're human beings. We're very emotional. We need to have that place fed. So this is the one where we're talking where you were the only one that showed up, right? Is that
Yeah.
the one you're talking about? So
Yes.
it was so funny because we had the next one come up, and then one person got sick, one person couldn't get internet, and here was Elana. And so she was, you were so gracious, and you're like, yeah, we don't have to do this. I'm like, no, this is a class. And so we got to focus on you and really work from all different areas. Now, I don't remember after we do things, and that's what it's good for a lot of healers, because then they can create space. So tell
Mhm.
me what we did so I can remember and go back.
Yeah. So one thing is I was kind of talking about, because of my age and everything, I just got married 6 months ago.
That's
And
right.
when I met my husband, I always said I want to have the option of being able to have kids. If that's not an option, then bye, Felicia. That's my lane. So we were kind of just talking about, because I am getting older, because he is older, if that's like in the range of like, I can't like predict and, the future history of that, but just kind of questioning like myself, am I going to be a mother? Is this going to happen? Are things aligned? In other readings, they have been aligned with that. So you help me, kind of hone into that. And also, with the grandmother energy, I love my grandmas, and two of them have passed. And here's my grandma's blanket, one of them that I have in honor of her. And I always keep the other ones close to my heart. But you were able to give me beautiful messages from them. I talked to them by myself, but to have them channel through you was one of the most amazing experiences I could have like ever received from you.
I'm getting goosebumps, which means that every time you call upon your grandmas, they're there. So
Yes.
how fab is that? And that's the other thing. No one's ever alone. So being
No.
lonely is kind of a bullshit story,
Yeah.
but we're lonely because emotionally we feel isolated, right? But yeah, in your grandmothers, I love that you call on your grandmothers. I love that we talked about, that's right, we talked about this. You are such a vibrant person. Age doesn't matter for you. I've seen how you love on women of all different ages. So when we met, I don't know one person, we were on a cruise. I don't know one person you didn't hug, and get to know, and everybody was your bestie. And I was like, how in the hell are you doing that? That is not a skill of mine, right? That is totally not a
Yeah.
skill. I'm like, I know, I'll check you out and tell some jokes, but so amazing. So, your gift is so beautiful that it's limitless in age,
Thank
so
you.
you could be healing 4-year-olds, you could be healing 104-year-olds. It's the could is not about whether you're able to, it's whether or not that's where you want to put your focus.
I love that. Thank you so much. And you know what? You've really helped me with that, because when we met, I think it's funny because both of us kind of had the thing like, it was like, oh, who wants to hang out with an older person? And who wants to hang out with the younger, not taking
Right.
serious. When you and I love each other so much, and we like, it doesn't matter about age. It doesn't matter. We connected from our heart and our soul. And that's where our souls connected. And that's what I love about you, is that you're above like just the surface, like, how are you? Like, like we could all say, how are you? You connect to their soul, you connect to who they are, and you bring that out, and you allow that to be disturbed to show who you truly are. And could you explain a little bit more like how people can work with you, what they like? You've done so much for me and others. I would love for the world to know more of what they can do with you.
Oh, I would love that. So there are so many ways. The people I love working with the most are those who know that they're intuitive, know that they want to be of service to, humankind, the greater good, um, that they have some kind of calling. And what we do is we just agitate those old stories. It's like being in a washing machine, right? And we
Yeah.
agitate those old pieces and we start moving through. And with that, there's a greater awareness of who you are and what your gifts are. And again, everyone is intuitive. That is an energy. If you are alive and you have energy, then you are intuitive because there's an energetic um, beam that goes out, and and it interacts with so many people and things and places, as well as, if you pass away, guess what? You still have energy. You just don't have this form, and it transforms into something else. So I love that piece. So that's how I can help people who are more aware. There are certain people who don't feel comfortable with this, but they know that where they're sitting is uncomfortable. So then what I do is I shift the
Yeah.
focus. We don't have to focus on you. We can focus on your environment. So from there, we can clear your space. We can create space for you to start feeling sacredness. So that comes into house clearings and space shifting.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I help people shift their energy as well as energy of spaces around them.
So when you're clearing someone's house, oh, I love that, because I feel sometimes the energy in my house, like sometimes like move or get away or like things
Yeah.
like that. Can you explain a little bit? I love that. Like I want to hear more about that. I think more people need to have better energy in their houses.
Yes, it's really important. So what happens is, um, I want you to know everything holds energy, right? There's a reason why your wedding dress is behind you, because
Yep.
that gives you energy. There's a reason why your grandma's blanket is with you, because it has that certain energy. So
Mhm.
let's take that a little bit farther. Energy moves out and it goes into the walls, and walls are bodies. And so they hold energy, right? So if you
Mhm.
move to a house, it has a great vibe, or it has a great layout, but it may not have the same vibe as yours. And so you move in, all your stuff looks fab, but you're still not feeling like it's your home. And it's
Yeah.
because the energy of the house doesn't match your energy. So then what I do is I go and I shift the energy. I release it, what is no longer serves, because it is now the container for you. And the thing that I love about this is now you and your house have a relationship. And with every relationship, there's an agreement, right?
Yeah.
So I love using primary bedrooms because it's so intimate, right?
Yeah.
So in this bedroom, um, I want intimacy. I want good sleep. I want to be able to dream. I want to be able to tell good secrets. I want to be able to
Yeah.
share, right? I want to have problems not being here. I want to have problems solved here, right? Solutions here. And so I say, okay, primary bedroom, this is what we're going to hold. And the primary bedroom saying, okay, I'm going to hold this, but you have to share that energy so I can hold it and give it back to you. So that's
Ooh, I
the
like
agreement.
that.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing. It's really incredible that there are a lot of people who are very private and they don't want to talk about themselves, but
Mhm.
they allow me into their house. And then when we talk, there's this one woman, I absolutely adored her because she's she and I spoke like she spoke like my family did, very direct in a certain way. And
Mhm.
I said, hey, I've never been in a house where the kitchen has the least amount of energy and a lot of and a little bit of resentment, not a lot, but a little bit.
Yeah.
And I said, and it feels a little bit like I get dizzy every time I'm in there. And she was a little bit concerned, like, oh my gosh, what are my guests feeling and things like that. And I said, oh no, it's not anything bad. I said, but it just feels like it's not the most welcome space. And I said, so, she says, I said, so what's going on there? She goes, I don't like to cook. And I said, oh, I totally get that. I said, does your husband cook? And she says, he doesn't even step into that room. I said, great. I said, so that's fine. They brought me in because they wanted to sell their house. I said, that's
Mm.
absolutely fine. I said,
Yeah.
order out and have a good time ordering out, have a good time, just put that energy. It's okay. There's no, but what the resentment was in the responsibility. Right.
Ooh,
So,
yes. Yeah.
and so we balanced that out. The house was lovely. It gained more action on the buy side.
I love that. I love that you get to allow people to see what truly is going on and get to the deeper root of it, because I'm sure there was so much energy going on, but they couldn't place where it was and
Right.
how to. I love that you can place where that energy is to show how to show up. I definitely need you to come to my house. I do not like cooking, and so, but my husband loves it. But I,
Well,
I
and
tend
it's
to resist
good,
it,
right? Yeah, it's
like
good. It doesn't
he's
have
my
here's
theory.
the thing. Put something you love in the kitchen, like a
Yeah.
little tchotchke or something, anything, so that when you go in, you see it, you're happy. Or, and I'm sure every time you go to the fridge, you're grateful because your fridge is full, your husband has made food, you don't have to deal with any of that, so that's the beauty of it. And so I'm sure your kitchen is fab because that's the agreement.
Yeah, because it was funny because when I met him, I said, I do not like to cook. My mom is the best cook you could ever experience. And don't compare me. He's like, I love cooking. It's my love language. I was like,
Oh man.
done.
Yeah.
Done.
Match.
Yes. Yes. So speaking about family, my parents have a double Facebook, Elana Feldman. So they said, wow, there's so much to unpack here. We love that it is a universal and that you can do what you need to do whatever the spirituality is. We love doing all those kinds of things. We also love readings. Very cool.
Yay.
Keep it up. Yeah, my family loves this. Like, we've had family readings. They've gone to other readers and whatnot, and just always being open. That's what I love about my family, is being open to all of this.
That's fantastic. Can we talk about family readings for a moment?
Yes. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
my favorite kind of relationship reading because there's such an interconnectedness. So you can see yourself in your mom, you can see yourself in your dad, you can see yourself in everybody in this dynamic. And so when people go in for family readings, the healing is exponential. The other thing
Mhm.
that happens is it's interesting to see when we talk about one person and they're like, really? And then they have four faces going back at them going, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's like humor and love with it. Instead of being like this character defect, it's
Mhm.
this lovely, loving piece that's like, yeah, let's, and let's kind of see how, if you want to work with it, because it's a struggle for you. It's something that it makes you worry, that makes us worry, right?
Mhm.
Because if you worry,
Yes.
you're in optimal health. And so I love those things. It wasn't a family reading. It was someone who had a child that ended up in jail, and
Mhm.
they were trying to figure out how to communicate and connect so that when it was time to come out, that there was no awkwardness, within the family, but not the whole family was on board. And so
Oh.
what we did is we worked with the two of them having such strong communication and connection that when it was time for them to be released, that they already knew how they were going to connect with other people at their own time. And so they weren't forcing a healing, they weren't
Yeah.
forcing anything, but they knew that that they were on the way to healing. So beautiful
Ooh.
stuff. I'm so grateful for your family because, what a great example for other families.
Yeah, they've always been very open, and which I love, and they've always let me be me. I have my crystals, I have my energy, that's, with, of course, my podcast, your vibe. So it's how you show up. My dad has always, been the crystal man, and that's how I kind of, and he's always said, Elena, it's like how you show up, how you present yourself, it's how you communicate. Both of my parents have said it's how you do that, but being open to this, getting these readings, and even having past lives. Like my mom and I had a past life being in like royalty together, and learning
Right.
why certain things happen with us are related to some of our past life things that we come back and ask for. We signed up for this life,
You
and
did.
so that's what I love about, it's like doing that. And that's what I love, that you get to show someone is what
Mhm.
they signed up for, and really living that is like, you really get to express that with them. And that's what I think is so beautiful, is going deeper than just the surface level.
Right, right. Yeah, past lives are amazing. I know that I'm going through a spiritual challenge and getting ready to go through have a break when I
Mhm.
become afraid of the dark. And that
Mhm.
actually came from a past life experience because I was stoned
Mhm.
in one of my lifetimes. And so I got walled in, and so I have a form of claustrophobia.
Oh, wow.
It's not huge, but
Great.
yeah, but in certain instances, and it's so unnatural for this lifetime, but it's now I know how to work with it because of a previous lifetime.
Great.
So it's really lovely, lovely stuff.
It really
Yeah.
is, and then just showing things, or certain things, like in one of my past life, I was a nun who saved kids from orphanages, and like,
Oh,
certain
nice.
stuff. And then I was a brothel owner who like saved women, even though it was like that atmosphere, but showed it. So it's funny to
Right.
see in your lives of how you showed up and who you are. And I think that is really, really a neat thing as well.
I like it because it helps you understand your compassion level, right?
Mhm.
So, there are certain things where you can say, I just don't understand, but I don't understand these people. And when I say these people, it doesn't have to be like racist or
Yeah.
whatever. But like, yeah. So I really, what I love about it is I can go back. I don't always do past life because I believe that everything is in the here and now as well,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
100%.
you either untangle back there, meaning you can go back there, focus and
Right.
untangle, and then you'll feel the healing here, or you can untangle here and then the healing happens back there. Either way, right? It's a win. You just get to decide what you're going to be focusing on.
Right.
And that's the other thing I like. Again, that's part of the spiritual shit disturber thing. It's like you want to go into past life, go into past life. That's fine, but don't stay back there.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people do. Like the thing I love about you. is I'm not surprised that you were royalty once. I want you to know, not in my background,
Yeah.
not anywhere in my background was there any royalty, in yours. And so I could see how you have presence. It makes sense,
Yeah.
right? But there were a lot of people who stand on that. Well, I was royalty back then. I'm like, who gives a shit?
Right. That's I don't
I,
care. It's just
yeah,
another life that I experienced.
yeah. I was 140 pounds 10 years ago. I don't, want
Yeah.
to hey for me too. It's like you are that person, but you're not that person anymore.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. And with we talk about intuition and whatnot. How do you we're gonna have to we have about another like 10 minutes ish, but with your intuition, really trusting it, is there some like signs or things that you can really help with someone who's struggling with really trusting themselves? Like what could they do, or work with you? Do you do like a mastermind? Do you more like groups? Do you only one-on-one? Like what is a way that you could give some of your golden nuggets?
Yeah, no, I thank you for asking. I actually have 2 masterminds. They're monthly and they're free. The one has to do with strategic intuition. Now, I call it strategic intuition because a lot of us empathic people, we give advice when it's not asked, you
Mhm.
know? And
Right.
and so that creates a miscommunication and a judgment. And what's happening is that we are uncomfortable, right? We're
Mhm.
uncomfortable with
Yes.
discomfort. So
Yeah.
strategic intuition, um, and what that does is we talk about meditation, calming down. And some people are like, I don't like meditating. I don't like sitting. Well, I can tell you, I have 22 different kinds of meditation right off the top of my head. And there are
Yes.
some of us who are mental, right?
Mhm.
Which means that we have to unlock mentally. And some of
Yeah.
us that are physical. So a physical meditation is better,
Yeah.
right? So we talk about that, and what that does is it quiets the mind, and then we talk about what can we do to find trust in our intuition. So some people like symbols.
Yeah.
So like you were talking about, your number is 22, 22, right?
Like
11,
11.
11, 11 in the double ups, right? And
Mhm.
mine is 3. And so then what we do is that we set up symbols for you in order to learn to trust your intuition. There are those that need different kinds of proof. So it all
Mhm.
depends on how you operate, that we create this nugget in order for you to trust your intuition more. Once you
Ooh.
trust your intuition, then there's a responsibility. And then we
Yeah.
talk about the responsibility of intuition, right?
Yeah.
You know, I know this one person, amazing reader. She can tell you stuff that's incredible. But sometimes you're at a party and you want to relax, and then she comes up and she's like, "Bah, bah, 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 bah," and I'm like, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa, you know.
Right. Yeah, you're like, I don't know if I'm
Yeah,
ready right now. Yeah.
and
There's
it's
a
a
time and
shame.
place. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. But she's so, so good. But so that's the strategic intuition for those who don't want to deal with their intuition, but they
Mhm.
like the idea of their house. Then
Yes.
it's called Prosperity Flow. It's also a free monthly mastermind. And we talk about spaces, we talk about items in spaces. It's feng shui adjacent. So there are some elements of feng shui, but I am not a feng shui practitioner. I totally respect feng shui practitioners. And if you'd rather go feng shui, I've got a list of people for you to meet. But we can talk about like the intuition, like what's your intuition saying? What is it you really want set up in your house? How are you doing with your neighbors? Right? Because neighbors are
Yes.
important
Awesome. I
too.
mean, that's like one of the biggest energy, or like even vampire suckers
Right.
of energy
Right.
too.
Condos. I help
Yeah.
someone with a condo, and she's like, "Oh my God, my neighbor upstairs and the neighbor downstairs. One's a busybody, one's super noisy." And so, it's about that. It's really not about boundaries. It's really about getting the energies to merge and find
100%.
find a space of like a cushion.
Yeah.
So there's that. And the last thing I'll say is that everybody wants to know about themselves. It's just, if it's too personal and too private, it's okay that we don't put the focus on here. We put the focus on the house.
Mhm.
I love doing handwriting analysis because then the focus is on the writing on the paper. Oh yeah,
Wow.
that's a whole different story.
Oh, we
It's
need
the
it.
story.
So we're gonna have Cynthia back on about that. I think that's incredible. I've had the same horrible handwriting. No one can read. Like they should have been a doctor type thing. I've written the same since I've been in preschool to now.
Yeah,
So
that's
it'd
because
be
you are WYSIWYG, right? What you see is what you get. You have not, so you are very clear on who you were from when you were really little, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of people, I'm so sad that people are not scripting her anymore so that they can learn.
No,
I know.
cursive even, like
No
the beautiful,
cursive.
like we're just taken away. I think everything is just, it's all electronics. It's all this. You wonder
Yeah.
why no one can write, no one can do all these things because it's just virtual now of everything.
Right. But it's still symbolic. So let's just say you're texting and you happen to like this certain font,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so you're not writing it, but you're attracted to it. I can go ahead and do a reading on that as well. So everything has energy. There's one time this one guy, he wrote in Hebrew, and he's like, "Oh, can you do handwriting analysis on that?" Well, I did using basics, but then I also got intuitive and then went into a reading, and never saw him again. Everybody around him laughed because it was a party. It was a party gig,
Yeah.
but I ended up gaining a whole lot of respect's not the word, but
Yeah, people saw your gift, like
right,
like exactly
exactly.
what you have to share with the world because you have
Yeah,
amazing, not just one gift, beautiful gifts. Like
thank you, thank
yeah,
you.
so you don't just, we can't put you in one box. You have a lot of pieces to the puzzle, which is so amazing, and which I absolutely love. And that's why I wanted you here today on the show to let everybody know that Cinthia is amazing. And if anybody would like to work with her, please reach out. This is the best opportunity for you. And is this the best way? Can you tell everybody how they can reach you? Website,
Sure.
whatever,
Sure. Yes. CynthiaVarkevisser.com. In my website is also my phone number and my email address. So whatever is more comfortable for you, go ahead. I always do a vibe check call. It's exactly what it's called. So it's very important, right? I don't go to any other hairdresser. I've gone to the same hairdresser for 20 years. It's the
Yeah.
same thing for someone that's your spiritual person. So you want to make sure that we connect energetically. I also have free classes so that you can take a look. They are also monthly, and the another way to experience is the inner mystic experience. It's online. It's
You have
monthly.
to do it. You
Yeah,
have to do it.
it's from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Pacific time. And I picked that time so that the people on the East Coast can get a little bit of it too, and it wouldn't be too late for them. So I do have people spanning the United States that come and visit for that as well. It's just a lot of fun, and every group is different
Yes.
energetically. So you will always have an energetic message from the fifth dimension, and it's very specific to the group.
Yeah.
So,
Well, just thank you so much for being here. It made my heart so happy. We could talk for hours upon hours.
thank you.
But we'll just have to have you back on. I'm Elena with Your Health Vibes with Elena. You can reach me at ef11ca@gmail or my website, yourhealthvibes.com. Um, you can join me bi-weekly, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Begin raising your vibration, heart, body, mind, and soul today. Thank you guys for being here. We are a new streaming network, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. That's a mouthful. We will see you again, not next Thursday, but the Thursday after. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being present. I love you all and have a beautiful weekend. Bye for now.